d'investissement. Les objectifs sont des transports propres et de l'énergie propre. Nous concentrons principalement, et ce sera toujours, l'énergie renouvelable en injectant des fonds et en assistant des programmes, en faisant du travail technique avant que l'investissement puisse réellement avoir lieu. Les projets sur lesquels nous travaillons d'habitude sont des projets technologiques de différents types. Nous avons des projets d'énergie propre dans Paris, par exemple, avec des voitures électriques. Ainsi que d'autres projets de par l'Europe. Nous avons différents projets technologiques. L'éclairage public et la construction sont la clé, les technologies clés qui font partie des directives européennes sur la sauvegarde d'énergie. Et c'est ce projet que nous avons vu beaucoup dans les dernières années et derniers mois. Brièvement, voilà les pays où nous avons des opérations actuellement. D'ici la fin de 2014, alors la France, la Roumanie, l'Allemagne, l'Italie et les Pays-Bas. Avant que je laisse la parole aux autres, je vais vous montrer brièvement comment les villes intelligentes
houses become in electricity and
dans les Pays-Bas, nous avons financé un projet d'éclairage public.
Primary energy for the city. These are the two key drivers for our investments. So our investment need to reduce CO2 and energy. And basically, we did a direct loan agreement with them for €8.5 million, and the project has been implemented 2 months ago. The second project, which especially the French operations might be very used to, is the Autolib project, which basically we co-funded in last year. You're very familiar with those cars, which are basically running around the city of Paris. And this is how we have a very different types of technologies that I'm very happy to share at the end of the session with anybody who is interested. But these are how we basically like to link how cities are becoming smart in the way that they manage their resources and they become more efficient. The rest of the speakers are quite knowledgeable in terms of how the cities have integrating those smart initiatives into a real, true intelligence on how to manage the resources. And basically, I'm letting you with them at a minute.
Utiliser leurs ressources au mieux. Entre Paris et les Pays-Bas.
Thank you, Mr. Cavier. Money is very important because we have to fund complex projects in smart cities, and especially with smart grids, and I will try to explain very quickly the complexity of the smart grids we have to develop in smart cities to let you understand maybe better the following presentations. A smart grid is just an evolution of the existing grids, by adding digitalized technologies. And these digitalized technologies are aiming at acquiring more data to be more efficient. That's it. So why smart grids, and why do we need smart grids in smart cities? And what I will explain for smart grids is also relevant for all smart applications. It can be for smart transportation, for smart health, and so on. For more efficient operations, we need more data. For load capacity balancing, because in terms of energy, and especially for electrical grids, you have to adjust the consumption and the production. When you deploy solar, when you deploy wind, the production becomes unpredictable, and it's more and more difficult to balance and adjust the consumption with the production and the production with the consumption. So you have to follow almost real time the consumption and the production to be able to manage this balance. The third reason is for extending the lifetime of energy assets, because you need money, investments are huge, and you cannot afford investing too much, and you have to extend the lifetime of your equipment. For that, you have to deploy predictive maintenance, and you need data for that. Fourth reason, for safer energy delivery, because in smart cities, the energy delivery have to be more and more, or safer and safer. Okay? All these reasons, all these stakes, all these targets are for utilities. And of course, that applies even more when utilities are municipal utilities, such in Grenoble, Strasbourg, and other French cities, because you have an overlap between the city stakes and the utility stakes. Why smart grids? Because you need also data for energy efficiency decision making. We have to reduce the consumption, and to reduce the consumption, we need data, we need information. We need also information on the consumer side to outsource various energy operations, such as consumption management. And third type of stakes, which is very important for cities, that is to optimize local energy systems. And what we will see in the next presentation, and the three next presentation will be the more important one, because we will dig into details, into examples where cities have developed transverse global energy systems to be more efficient. And to be more efficient for the cities, for the consumers, for utilities, they need more and more data, and they need to digitalize the grids to acquire this data. So I will let now Alstom present different cases they have developed in various countries to give you a global view of what can be achieved in smart cities with smart grids. And after that, we will dig deeper in one example, which is a Danish one, in a city that has achieved very good results in that direction. Rodolphe?
I know, because this.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, everybody. I'm Rodolphe de Beaufort. I'm the Smart Grid Marketing Director for Alstom Grid. I'm based here in Paris. So I will make this presentation in English, but with a French accent in order to balance. The idea here is to have 6-7 minutes to try to explain what is the role of the smart grid technology when it comes to developing smart cities. There is a lot of different concepts here, and we need to be relevant. So I've made a small drawing in order to try to explain the situation here. So the first thing, when you talk about smart grid, it's really a technology, an innovation, which is dedicated to public network operators.
des technologies innovantes.
These public network operators are a real strong partner to the cities in order to develop the energy transition. And why that? Because when you talk about energy transition, the objective is on one side to do energy efficiency, but on the other side, one of the most important things is really to deploy locally new production assets that are going to create value, jobs, taxes on your territory. So that's a very important objective of the energy transition, to progressively become self-autonomous, and this will bring a lot of value to the territory. These productions will be connected, starts to be connected today, and will be connected tomorrow to the distribution grid. So the idea here is really to provide new tools to the distribution companies in order to enable this massive introduction of decentralized energy into their networks without reinforcing in a traditional manner their infrastructure, which would be very costly for the community. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect then is the role of the city and the countries themselves. What they are going to do is to plan the energy transition and to make arbitrage between multiple different technologies and their power mix. So they will decide whether to invest into production, into the grid, into electricity, into heating systems, into hydrogen, into windmills. So what they need is to have tools in order to modelize these investments and the results of these investments. And this is something Alstom is currently developing a lot. The other thing is really to leverage the public portfolio. A city, a country, is in general, I would say, the manager of a lot of different buildings, a lot of different production assets. So they have their own public portfolio, and they need to be on the front end of the change of the behavior. So in order to lead the way and show the path to their inhabitants and to the citizens. So there is a lot of things to do with this portfolio, and the first one is to equip this portfolio of public buildings with energy efficiency, I would say, devices and methods, but also a lot of use cases are going to enable the implementation of local production. The objective is really to align the local consumption with local production. You have to keep in mind, for example, what we do in the pilot of Nice. There we do basically align the local consumption with the solar production. If you want to reach 100% local production, you need also to align your consumptions, and there is a lot of hidden consumption which is inside the public portfolio, including these buildings, the water network, the public transportation network. So there is a lot of potential here to enable a very strong local production. The last aspect is the district level, where you have private investors that are going to develop new neighborhoods, and they want to provide smart technologies, what we call the microgrids, in order to mix into a single premise both I would say traditional consumption and decentralized production. And this needs to be coordinated on a very local manner. And on this slide here, you can see the three main, I would say, layers that need then to be coordinated together, because obviously if these three layers are not coordinated, you are not going to have a full energy transition. So the most important thing now is to understand what is going to be the governance between these layers and these actors, and how they can exchange not only, I would say, electricity and electrons, but also financial transactions using energy markets. And this is one very important skill of Alstom, which is basically, historically speaking, to provide energy market platforms to the transmission systems. And now what we do is to create evolutions of these systems for the local countries, for the local cities, and for the integration of the smart districts into the big market of energy. So I will go through a few examples. Obviously, we don't have time to dig a lot, but I think that Frédéric shown the next example is very interesting and very similar to some of our reference here. So here you have a few, I would say, example of the type of solutions we deploy for either DSO, smart cities, or there is somebody is sitting on a button somewhere. I guess. But I can do it a cappella, so no problem. Yeah. So we'll take a few examples. If I take the example of the DSO first, the objective is really to have the ability to forecast and pilot the distribution production, which is progressively connected to its network. If I take the French example, ERDF today is connected more than 95% of the new generation assets on its network, on the distribution network. So it means that 20 years ago, it was less than 5%. Now it's 95%. And we are still before the grid parity. So we can imagine that in the next decade, mostly 100% of the new asset capacity will be connected to the distribution grids. And it's going to change completely the way they are operated. So you need to have example like what we do develop with Nice Grid or a lot of different utilities in the US and in Europe in order to build new tools to have visibility and to be able to pilot these assets. The other level is the level of the city and the country, and there I will talk about Smart Grid Vendée, which is an example in France, where we start to see the local communities which are regrouping themselves together in order to use their portfolio of production and consumption to align the consumption with the production and avoid reinforcement on the network. Again, this is done with Alstom technology. And the last example is the microgrids. Microgrids are, for example, in Singapore or in New York, or in FEDA or in India, technologies that enable the local players to develop small parts of the grid and to balance locally, I would say in an automated manner, both production and consumption. And we basically do that. One of our main, I would say, showcases in the Navy Yard of the Philadelphia town in the US. And there we are really at the forefront of the innovation in this area.
Un district de Philadelphia.
So that's it for this introduction.
Il est meilleur de technologie au service de l'économie. Voilà pour cette introduction. Merci beaucoup.
So now we are going to focus on one specific project deployed in Denmark.
Qui est au Danemark.
I might get the next one on it. Yeah, here it is. I'd like to thank for inviting us to this conference. I'm from a small municipality in Denmark called Frederikshavn, 61,000 inhabitants, and we have made a plan for changing our energy consumption into renewable energy within 20 years or something like that. So, we are not saints, not at all, and we're not naive. So we got some strategic objectives that we are very keen on getting onto doing this. We got 3 strategic focus points. We like to change our energy production and consumption into renewables. Why that? Because we would like to be rather independent on the energy coming from countries that we cannot rely on, and we like to use our local factories, local means to produce the energy that we need. So this is the independent part of it. It's still got some environmental issue on it, and that's fine, but the independent part is rather important. The next point is to make a new business development, because renewable energies has a lot to do with making these new devices, making it work, and go to the world market and sell it. And we got a local enterprise structure that can manage to go into that. So that's a major focus point for us as a municipality, and not least but not last, the employment. We have to change from old kinds of enterprise into new enterprise and make the people go in there and have their new jobs. And this we also will succeed in. These 3 major strategic focuses revolves around this system that we got in our community. And I got a simple one here. Oops. We go back. Yeah. This is a simple picture of the energy system in a municipality like ours, and I believe it's the same thing where you come from. We got the production, we got the consumption, and we got the distribution in the middle. And as said before, we have to balance the production and the consumption. And changing our city into renewable will affect the production, but also the consumption, because can we predict what the consumption will be? We might be able to do that, but can we also predict what production will have? Well, if we rely 100% on wind turbines, we cannot predict what will come out of that, and therefore we have to balance with other kinds of productions that are not relying so much on wind, but on other kinds of renewable energies, and that's rather exciting. But so we have made an arrangement with our local university that had made a model out of it, and which gives us the certainty that our local folks in the town will always have enough power to light their light bulbs, and we can have enough heat to heat up our buildings. And I'm sure our inhabitants will appreciate that, because we've got very cold winters in Denmark.
Apprécions cela parce que les hivers sont très froids au Danemark.
The consumption is an area that my colleague will go into, because we would like also to reduce the total consumption of energy in our city. We got 3 major parts in that. We got the power consumption, the electricity, we got the heat consumption, and we got the transportation sector. And as it is now, come to the power production, about 40% of our annual consumption of electric power is relying on renewables right now, and we're going up on that. In our heating sector, we got a district heating system, and this allows us now to have about 70% of our total district heating production to be made on renewables, and that's a fairly high percentage. And then we got the transportation sector, and the transportation sector is, as you all know, a great challenge, because how do we do that? And we've got some small projects running just now. We have electric vehicles in our local community, and we are now getting the public transportation sector moving on to use the biogas in the buses, and this will help us a way. But the private transportation sector, ordinary people's ordinary cars, this will take some years to get into cars that only rely on renewables. We know that. So our aim is to produce enough renewable energy to be used in the transportation sector, but we also have to be patient and wait until this sector has developed the efficient technology on that. But as summed up, we have this challenge of the distribution system, because if we can't predict or not, so 100% can predict the consumption, and we cannot predict the production, then we are needing this intelligent balancing system in the distribution area called smart grid. And smart grid is, as mentioned, just put on top of what we already got. We have this power system, we have the distribution grid for the district heating, and we have all the other things, but we have to combine them and make it work, and we are very sure that this can be done. And Paul will tell you a little about some concrete some project that we are now going into with our local inhabitants in our city to make the energy consumption in the houses more efficient, because that's also fundamental for us. Yes, thank you.
Merci bien.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Paul Rice-Nielsen, and I'm the daily project director to do this implementation. And if you ask me, is it easy, Paul? No.
Paul Rask.
But we try. It will take some years and a lot of help from everybody in our municipality. I would start where Michael ended. I will give you two practical cases, so you understand how do we work with the practical cases. And one of the cases is the district heating system, because that's very typical Danish. And the other thing is, or that's about the production, and the other thing is about energy renovation in private buildings. So it's two different type of cases I will give you. What is also interesting is that district heating in our municipality is quite big, because approximately 70% of the inhabitants, they use district heating. So, and who is not using district heating? That's the people who is living on the countryside. So it's single houses, farmers' houses, etc., etc. But we got three, for us, bigger towns, but for you, maybe smaller towns, they are on district heating. We have 7 smaller villages. They got their own district heating company. And what is special also is that every of those 10 companies, they are owned by the citizens. In the towns or in the villages. So it's not about making money, it's about making heat cheapest. That's the focus. But you can also go to other Danish towns where the district heating are owned by energy companies. But this is, in our municipality, it's owned by the citizens. So that gives us another focus. Yeah. This is a small picture from one of the production sites in a village. 50% of the energy is coming from solar. And you must remember that Scandinavia is quite cold in winter, but we got, of course, good summers. So 50% of the production for heating the houses is coming from types like this. So, just to give you an impression. Yeah. In the northern part the northern part of Denmark, there's a town called Skagen. And the reason why I give you that as a case is that they work very intensively about to say, can we be the first district heating company in the municipality who is 100% on renewable energy? And that's the reason why I take them. And how do they do it? At the moment, they are approximately producing 60% renewable energy. So the heating is coming from different types. And they have to mix a lot of different things. First of all, when the wind is blowing very much in Denmark, the electricity is very, very cheap. And then they installed these electric boilers like you may, in a smaller case, like you are producing your tea at home. That's just an electric boiler. When the electricity is cheap, then it's putting it into a big boiler. It's the tank you see, the black box to the left. And then we use the municipal waste. We burn it, and from the municipal waste, you produce electricity and you produce heat. That's another way we do it. But the company you see to the right, that's a big fishing industry. It makes fish meal for salmon and things like that, exported to all over the world. And they have such a massive overproduction of heat when they're boiling the fishes. And for 5 years ago, they put all those extra heat into the sea. So we had tropic seawater outside. But today, they put it in the district heating. And if you ask me, the payback time for that investment, how much was that? The payback time was 1 year. And then everybody was earning on it. The price for the heat for the citizens got lower, and the company got a better budget. And I think that type of cooperation between companies to use waste from one company into another, that's a good combination. And I could continue and continue. They instead of in the beginning, when the heat was coming out to the citizens' houses, they had a temperature on 80 degrees, and they lowered the temperature to 70 degrees, and that's another way to make it more efficiency. And then new types of pipes. Yeah. And I think if you visit us in about 3 or 4 years, you could come to a town which is 100% renewable for the heat. And it's just round the corner. And they are a very good case for the 9 other district heating companies in our municipality. So they can see they can walk the way. The other thing is, we work a lot with the citizens in our municipality, and they do not understand what can I do by myself? That's a very important question. If you want to make the CO2 reduction, how can people work with themselves, their houses, the transportation, etc.? And therefore, in our case, you can reduce approximately about 25% of the heat in the house you can reduce if you do the right things, especially because we got the winter. So put some more insulation in, for example. That's very easy and very cheap. But what we do is we produce a local energy magazine where we are not telling them what to do, but the neighbors, the house owners are telling, what have I been doing? And did it work? And that's very important. So people are telling to people what did we do and did it work? Because we are the specialized, and we have to say, you have to do it, but they don't listen to us. It's like the same losing in weight. Very difficult. And it's very easy, just eat less. But it's more easy if it's the neighbor who is losing weight instead of me telling them how to lose weight. And then we have a lot of public meetings. We say in next month we have 6 public meetings in villages and in the bigger towns where we come out and tell what can you do with your houses. And we don't talk CO2 reduction. For us, this is about how can you reduce or how can you put more money in your pocket. That's a language people understand in our place. How can I put more money in my pocket? And we talk about what they can do. Another thing is that they can get free energy counseling. And that means that, and sometimes people ask me, what are the results of the energy counseling? Last year we had a man visiting 400 houses. And those 400 houses, they reduced the energy consumption with 1 million kilowatt. And then other thing was, what about Michael talked about was job creation. That energy counseling created 18 new jobs because the craftsmen, the local craftsmen, had more work to do. So one man can create 18 new jobs, and the people get more money in their pockets. And that's the good story we try to tell again and again. Yeah. So, as Michael told you, focus is on how do we do the energy reduction with simple things, insulation, new windows, etc., etc. And this is about business development. So we talk a lot with the craftsmen in our municipality. We talk with the bankers. We talk with the people who are selling the houses, so they know us and they know we help each other. And it helps also about the employment. And that's a case. That's the two cases I wanted to show you. So the district heating and the energy reduction in the private houses. And I think it's very important today to focus on what can I do as a private person when you want to do the energy reduction and the CO2 reduction, because it's not easy to talk about a wind turbine park, because how can I get involved in that as a private person? So I think that was the main message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nielsen. There is a notion that lies behind all the presentations, which is the notion of vision, of strategic planning, of structuring of the initiatives, because we have understood that a smart cities or a smart grid cannot be achieved in 1 year. We need some decades for that. So I have one question for all of you. How did you involve people in this strategic planning in Denmark? How Alstom can be involved in this stage, and what is your experience, Rodolphe? And Mr. Cavia, how do you include this notion in your selection of files that are funded by your institution? Who wants to start? Because I think I have met so many examples of cities failing to develop cost-effective solutions because of a lack of strategic planning, that I think it's very important to focus on this notion.
Efficace et peu cher à cause d'un manque de coopération.
That's a very good question. How do we involve our local citizens? You know, in our case, we had this crisis coming up, and we had to find out new ways of making a living. So we had this situation that people was aware we have to do something new, and the energy prices went up. So this was a fairly well good way to start. Then we made a discussion in our local city council. 31 persons wasn't there, and they all voted for this strategy. And then we went out to our citizens. As Paul said, we are out in the small local communities. We take meeting with 25 or 5 persons and try to tell what is this. And then we have also these magazines and go out almost every day to have news to our citizens that this will work, and what we do and why we do it. It's a hard way to do it. because we cannot be assured that all the citizens will be convinced at one time that they are not. But as they see that what we are doing is also gaining some money for them because it's becoming cheaper, then we start the talking. And then we do not have all these conflicts that might get if a community from the top say, now you're going to do this, now you're going to do that, and you have to invest about 30,000 euros in doing this, and all the people will say, why should I do it? And we do not say anything, we just say, do it. We cannot do that in that way in Denmark. So we are very close to our local citizens almost every day.
Et la meilleure communication possible.
So I'll try to answer for Alstom.
Je vais essayer de répondre pour Alstom.
Alstom doesn't have any citizens, but we do have employees that are citizens. And so that's why one very important aspect of our innovation strategy is to have our own community on energy efficiency and all these technologies. And we do develop a program which is called We Share the Power internally, which objective is to achieve I would say energy bill cost reduction into our plants, but also to involve our employees into this process, not only for the plants, but also inside their homes. And basically, it's working very well. And as an innovation team, we understood from this experimentation that basically the driver is not the technology, it's the community. And we also have this lesson learned from all the project pilots we have with the cities. In general, when we do R&D development inside a living lab in a city, at the end of the R&D project, basically people don't want us to disassemble the technology because it creates a community and people want to continue to interact together. So it's very interesting to see that. The other aspect of the answer, how can we help, I would say, communities to develop their strategic planning, relies on two aspects. First, for us, is basically to go and talk with these new stakeholders into our industry. Because usually we were talking only to distribution and transportation network operators and not the cities. So the cities basically are not really aware of the technology which is available and the tools and the process we can use to better manage the energy transition. So we need to dialogue more together. So that's the first aspect. And in this dialogue now, we realize that they also have new needs. The communities now need to have investment planning tools that have the ability to do complex modeling in order to build scenarios on a 10-year period and say, what if I do develop heat network in this area and I mix with 10% of solar production, or I do in the very traditional way, and I can compare my two scenarios and what is the impact on the citizen, and usually there is no such tool today in the communities, and this is something we do develop in collaboration with the communities.
Et donc c'est quelque chose qu'on développe en collaboration avec les communautés.
From the AAAF point of view, I'd like to say a couple of things. So the first is, the question is about how you engage with communities, how you basically make sure that you bring them on board and you make sure that they understand the value for them of these projects. To answer that question, I'm going to answer to another question, which is basically how we have engaged, or what was the road when we started engaging with municipalities in Europe. The first selling point for these investments is not for these projects. For us, is the CO2 and energy value, which is the key driver of our investments. But to sell that idea to a municipality in Europe, that you need to sell them the fact that these projects are bankable, they have very short paybacks periods. I mean, we're seeing here a 1 year astonishing payback period. And basically, the numbers need to basically match up for the councils and for the municipalities. And once you actually have engaged with the council, they have understood that, and each council has a knowledge, internal knowledge in that respect. No every council is as advanced as yours. The message from in the council is understood. We have seen many projects failing because they don't engage well with the municipality, with the citizens. And we have seen many projects actually, the projects that actually go ahead and implement in a more successful way. Other ones actually, they have engaged with the communities very quickly. They have showed the citizens the value of a much larger project of the council, of the municipality. And that way they make the comparison that how investments in the municipality will affect them, and how their behavior will basically retroactively benefit the municipality.
Faire des projections et leur montrer comment concrètement leur municipalité
Thanks to all of you for your answers. We'll try to be less late than the previous presentation. So I will let Mr. Cavia conclude this session.
Very quickly, I know that we have just in a couple of minutes. I have seen three areas that basically have been discussed here. One of them is integration. So basically, Alston has talked to us about how smart grids, smart cities, and microgrids are actually working today. We have seen many projects with the EEF that basically are smart solutions within cities. But what we need to do from a point of view is basically to make sure that those solutions are connected and integrated. That's what is going to bring the grids together and basically create a real true solution of the smart grids that we basically, networks that we basically required. The second one is technology. We have seen a number of technologies that within the presentations, I mean, I'm going to pick up a couple of them: building retrofit and district heating mentioned. For me, and for us, for the fund, we invest in technology which are proven. Most of these technology, there's many technologies which are under development and they're quasi-proven or they haven't been developed very much, but there's so many technologies that actually are proven, are bankable, and they basically make sense in terms of environmental and economic numbers. And the 3 points that I'd like to basically summarize the session with is about financial instruments. We need to make sure that the municipalities understand what are the financial instruments that they have there within Europe to take these projects forward. We are experienced in the past, we co-finance with other public and private institutions, and we have seen in the past that municipalities don't have all the information available, and I think that's a part of work that financial institutions, private and public, European Commission, European Investment Bank, etc., we need to do probably more actively in order to make sure that municipalities understand what do they have available to take these projects forward. That's a summary for me. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything else, but if you have any questions, we'd be very keen to hear.
N'hésitez pas.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Alors, merci beaucoup pour votre temps.